Some of the biggest news we've broken in a long, long time. And we've broken other big stories, like a hit and run, what appeared to be attempted murder of Roger Stone earlier this week. It's finally in the Miami newspapers and broadcast television today that indeed the police are investigating it as that. Or when we get secret documents that Homeland Security says that veterans, gun owners, and Christians and conservatives are the #1 threat to America, people didn't believe us for a week until Janet Napolitano came out and said, yeah, that's a real training manual. We stand by it. Obviously, when we had Colonel Schaefer on, very respected, but we had him on less than a week after Benghazi, and he laid it out exactly what it took 3 years later for the information to come out. There are so many hundreds of examples of us breaking big national news here over and over again, like the fact that Hillary Clinton was falling down, having convulsions every 45 minutes or so, and then she was caught 2 weeks after I said that, on air, in a medical tent, reportedly collapsed for 45 minutes, and then the media made fun of us saying that, and 1 week later on 9/11, she collapsed in front of the world, and the media would only show her shaking, about to fall, and wouldn't show her actually falling on her face, and would say we made that up, hoping you didn't go look online and see the full video that we broke down and reported on, that Drudge Report put out to the entire planet. So, we break a lot of massive news here. Now, I knew about this database last week. I reported on the existence of it years ago. But we have, obviously, law enforcement sources that are very respected that were giving the data and information to outgoing Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio, good friends with President Trump and also fearless, and his chief cold case investigator, Mike Zullo, who has massive contacts on the East Coast, obviously, where he previously worked in law enforcement. We were going to go with this tomorrow with Arpaio and Zula, but because of security issues, we just want to get it out now. I'm leaving it at that, and sooner couldn't be better, because this is big. Now, part of this is an admitted database and a program that was reported on by the Electronic Frontier Foundation, very respected, the London Guardian, and others. When I saw the final draft this afternoon, I called Corsi and I called Merkel Phelan, who's our hacking internet specialist, and I said, I want to add a lot of stuff to this article that's background, that they admittedly, in the New York Times and Washington Post in January, said they were spying on President-elect and President Trump with intercepts, wiretaps, you name it. Then they tried to walk that back. We're going to cover that today. I said, I want that added into some context, and I want to add it into context that the Senate Armed Services Committee and the Intelligence Committee was spied on by the CIA 5 years ago. Remember that huge controversy? Just search in. CIA spied on Senate Intelligence Committee. Just type it in for yourself. In fact, I printed that Friday. Will you reprint that or pull it out of my stack? Because they just act like none of this is happening when it is happening. But we have the actual law enforcement NSA database. Now, the reason we have this is state police, the DEA, the FBI, and others. There's London Guardian. The constitutional crisis, the CIA turns on the Senate, openly spying on them. Domestically, because they were worried about their budget. That's illegal. Yeah, print that for me, thank you. That's September 2016, but that came out 5 years ago that it was first happening. So, they give access to these databases. In fact, print me the article out of Associated Press 3 years ago. Headline is Parallel Construction, DEA involved in parallel construction, Yahoo News as well. That's where they have the NSA database for spying on people, but they can't use the NSA database domestically, so they have to go rebuild the case with the info they already have. I mean, they know you're a drug dealer, they know what you're doing, they know who you're supplying, they know what you're up to, or maybe they're going to set you up, maybe not. Maybe they're putting false info in the database, as the new Vault 7 CIA WikiLeaks shows, where they're framing Russia and others. Communist China is being used to frame Russia for, quote, us. That's the globalist. Oh, America's pretty much run by the Communist Chinese right now. It's truly sickening. Our elites have sold us out to them. They're the ones with North Korea opening and threatening to nuke the U.S. Yeah, there it is, Reuters. Exclusive. U.S. directs agents to cover up programs used to investigate Americans. Print me that solid gold. So what's happening here is, as the head guy at InfoWars, I don't really act as an editor, Paul Watson does, and so does Dr. Corsi on his own pieces on our Washington Bureau. But I saw his article, and it was so powerful. I said, listen, you're going to have to not give up sources here, but they already know how you're getting this. This is no secret. This is from state police, DEA, things like that. I'm going to stop right there. So they're able to get into the database of who's already been spied on without a warrant in these, quote, dragnet operations. NSA files decoded Edward Snowden's surveillance, revelations explained. Dragnet NSA spying survives, 2015 review. Electronic Frontier Foundation, very respected. What's the news we've got? And I'm holding publishing this till next hour till we've added all these links. Because, of course, Corsi's the type of journalist. He just gives you our breaking report, our info that's bombshell. But I want, when the media tries to pick it apart, I want to have all the other admissions of, oh, they were ordered to illegally cover up their illegal, activities in America. Oh, they're spying on everybody. Oh, here's London Guardian. Oh, here's Reuters. Oh. Here's the Senate committee admitting it. Oh. How's that feel? Before we give you the big enchilada. We've not just received the data of the dragnet. Our law enforcement services, who are patriots in many cases, have given our sources, who are impeccable, the database excerpts, and we have them. And by the way, we could be SWAT team ready at any minute for this. But again, we have President Trump now who wants law and order. So there's still criminal elements in the government. We don't know what's going to happen. This is all done in the interest of the Republic and the truth. We have President Trump being surveilled by Obama previous to even running for the presidency. And then it cuts off and the rest has not been put in the database since then for these law enforcement groups. We only have the database up until 2015. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got Barack Obama spying on the Trump kids, the Trump wife, particular interest in the Trump's daughter. Oh, and guess who else is in the database? A guy named Alex Jones. my private cell phone number, our little shadow office, all of it is in there. So, very interesting. And I'm getting calls by these law enforcement guys, and they're like, yeah, is this your number? Is this your address? Yeah. I'm like, of course it's my number. You're talking to me on it. And I guess they just went live with it. That's fine. But I talked to him an hour ago and 30 minutes ago and 15 minutes ago before I went on air, and I said, wait, because I want to add all that. But it's fine. It's now gone live on Infowars.com, and we're going to add some of the background to that information. But we also probably need to clip out this little segment of the live show and add this into the piece. But it explains it and breaks it all down. But we've put this out a day early because of security concern issues. Because let's just say behind the scenes, some stuff broke loose. Once they were obviously listening to our phones last week, we were talking about this. And with most people, you're just being recorded and it's in a database, then go back to it later. When you're talking about Sheriff Arpaio or myself or Dr. Corsi, who's up there with his nose and everything in D.C., they're spying on everybody in real time. And, of course, Trump knows it's going on. He's ordering them to stop. They won't stop. People kept saying, Trump's going to learn he was a victim of all this illegal spying, and he's going to stand up against it. And now it's happening, and he's this big champion against it. And the media is trying to act like, with the Snowden movie that came out and all the rest of it and all the documents, that none of this is true or happening. They make fun of Conway for saying your appliances spy on you when it's all over the news. And it's in the new database dump. And I'm told more's coming, but this is not from the latest Vault 7. It's not from the other stuff. This is directly from law enforcement to our sources. And it's a big, big deal. More breaking straight ahead. I'm Alex Jones. Infowars.com has at least the first portion up. Dr. Jerome Corsi, both men have broken scores of giant international news stories over the years, are joining us in the second hour. We've put out the first basic boil down with even more added documentation being added as we speak by Mikhail Phelan to Infowars.com. And the story, NSA database documents, NSA electronic surveillance of Donald Trump in Trump Tower and Alex Jones in Texas. Now, ladies and gentlemen, these databases, here it is out of the New York Times. Inquiry by CIA affirms it spied on Senate panel. Remember that in 2014. There it is, okay? This goes on. They think you're stupid. And, of course, Trump has the same sources we have. He's the president. He knows he's in the databases. He now knows he's been spied on for decades, okay? Including by Obama. We have the entries. A constitutional crisis. The CIA turns on the Senate, the London Guardian. So that's the Senate being spied on. Exclusive. U.S. directs agents to cover up a program used to investigate Americans. Reuters with illegal NSA databases being given to federal and state law enforcement. CIA accused of spying on U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee. Reuters confirmed. Okay, I'm just giving you background here when they play dumb and say Trump has no proof, he's crazy, and they get all these people in the Senate and the House to say it's so. That's because they're desperate. Well, law enforcement who has access to these databases of who's been ordered surveilled and then who can get access to that surveillance, different agencies, and Donald Trump is in there. You can see where, when, and how, month after month, year after year. It gets cut off a few years ago, but it's got Obama and Bush, W, spying on Donald Trump, running from 2008 right down. So you want to see it for yourself. The phone numbers, the back of the, and by the way, I've known some of Donald Trump's phone numbers. I'll leave it at that. It's Donald Trump's phone number. I've dialed that number. I've got that number. He no longer uses it. Well, one of them is just the direct line into Trump Tower and into his secretary. But so this is the real deal. And of course, he knows about this. He's friends with Arpaio, and of course, Mike are looking into all this and doing the investigation. Now, in this segment, the next, because I've got to get off the air. Plus, this I was already going to air these clips. They're so important from Friday's show. I've got to go work on this because there's a lot I want added to the story. I want to add where the DEA admits they're getting illegal stuff from the NSA. I want to add where the state police are. I want to add where they're going after journalists with this stuff. I want to add where they're using it for blackmail. Mainstream news now thinks you're dumb. And I want to add screenshots of the New York Times, the 19th, the 20th, the 21st, with the reporters at the New York Times on CNN saying, we never heard of this, it's insane, when they wrote articles saying it in the headline. So we've got them here. They're trying to just totally scam everybody like Gruber did with Obamacare, saying, thank God you're so stupid. Well, you're not so stupid. Flashback, New York Times admits that there was wiretapping of President Trump. That's all being added in, previous background of the article that just went up on Infowars.com that needs to go completely and totally viral. Again, whistleblowing is covered if it's covering illegal information. If you're illegally surveilling Donald Trump, the businessman, and Alex Jones, the radio host / TV host, his wife, his family, for a decade, and Obama's part of this. Oh, and by the way, I told you Friday that Trump hadn't apologized. There was no statement of that. And then Spicer came out and said, the president hasn't apologized to the British. He knows for a fact they use the GSGQ to spy on us and we spy on them. That's part of it. That's admitted. So here is the CIA top-level individual, also former with the State Department, deputy head of counterterrorism, Larry C. Johnson, used to be a Fox News contributor until he wouldn't shut up about this, coming on the show Friday to break it down in an hour interview. We're going to air 5 minutes of it now, 5 minutes when we come back. And then we're going to break down just how big a deal this is with Obama denying all this. And here it is. They're admitting they were doing it in 2016. Then they tried to deny it. But now we have the actual database documents where they were doing it years before at Trump Tower. And I just can't believe I'm in the database too, but isn't that just cute? Well, I mean, I've seen federal court cases where they use stuff from the government database on people they're going after that have been guests of mine, and it comes up. So I guess I've seen this before. I mean, we know we're getting surveilled, but my goodness, in there with Donald Trump. But see, they know who to watch, folks. They know who the patriots are. So let's go ahead and go to this report they don't want you to see. By the way, this got censored off Facebook when he was first interviewed by RT. Here it is.
Donald Trump is, in essence, correct that the intelligence agencies and some in the law enforcement community on the side of the FBI were, in fact, illegally trying to access, monitor his communications with his aides and with other people. All of this with an end to trying to destroy and discredit his presidency.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
The real fundamental thing that ought to alarm all Americans, regardless of their political party, their political affiliation, is what has been going on with former leaders of the Central Intelligence Agency and in the Director of National Intelligence Agency's office. is direct interference in the domestic politics. If we're going to talk about Russian meddling in U.S. politics, it needs to be acknowledged that these intelligence agencies or the principals at the top were involved with meddling. Now, do I have firsthand knowledge that John Brennan was doing this? No, I do not. I have been told, though, by someone who is in a position to know, who's still within the intelligence community, that absolutely that's what was going on. That Brennan and that there were shenanigans going on between the GHQ and U.S. intelligence. How does that work? You've got your listeners should understand that it is illegal without some warrant for any of the intelligence or law enforcement agencies to collect on American citizens. It is not illegal for the British, through their version of NSA, to collect on American citizens because we're foreigners as far as they're concerned, and we're a legitimate target. Similarly, the United States can freely collect on any British citizen because they're not Americans. They don't have the constitutional protection.
We all spy on each other then.
Yeah. I mean, and, you know, if anybody's so naive as to think that the Brits aren't spying on Americans and Americans aren't spying on Brits, well, you know, yeah, I hate to burst your bubble, but the reality is that's what spy agencies do. They collect and gather intelligence on other entities. That's one of their purposes.
Well, remember the scandal just 4 years ago where the CIA was spying on Republicans and Democrats in the Senate, the Intelligence Committee heads.
Right. Well, and that was, you know, John Brennan, again, had his fingerprints all over that because they didn't want the information about the torture report to come out. And Brennan initially denied that was going on, and then later had to admit that it had in fact happened. So it's not, you know, we're not raising these allegations without precedent.
Director Brennan, in 2014, the CIA conducted an unauthorized search of Senate files, including the emails of Senate staff investigating the CIA's use of torture. The CIA Inspector General later stated that the search involved improper agency access.
All right, folks, we're going to be back after this quick break. Again, I'm Alex Jones. Major news on the illegal NSA spying on Donald Trump by Obama now confirmed. Project Dragnet is admitted to have existed. Now we've got part of the database from our law enforcement sources. It broke just 45 minutes ago at Infowars.com. NSA documents prove surveillance on Donald Trump and Alex Jones. Breaking now at Infowars.com. Get it out to everybody. And the investigative journalist and the law enforcement officer that helped get this out will be joining us in the next hour. But here is the former high-level CIA section chief of analysis, who has been censored all over the news, former Fox News contributor Larry C. Johnson, with his current sources saying Trump was under surveillance during the campaign. But we have documents that Obama was surveilling Trump. We have the actual targeting documents. That's breaking now at Infowars.com. Here it is.
In 2014, the CIA conducted an unauthorized search of Senate files, including the emails of Senate staff investigating the CIA's use of torture. The CIA Inspector General later stated that the search involved improper agency access to Senate files, and a review board that you appointed concluded that the search resulted in inappropriate access to the committee's work product. Senior officials from the NSA, the FBI, and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence have all testified that it would be inappropriate for their agencies to secretly search Senate files without external authorization. Would you agree that the CIA's 2014 search of Senate files was improper?
The actions of the CIA were reasonable, given the very unclear and unwritten or unspecific understanding between the committee and CIA at the time.
The exact words of the review board were, it resulted in inappropriate access to SSCI work product. And your Inspector General reached the same conclusion. And so that undermines the very checks and balances that protect our democracy. And it's unacceptable in a free society. And your compatriots in all of the sister agencies agreed with that. Now, you disagree?
Yes, I think you mischaracterized both their comments as well as what's in those reports. Do not say that we spied on Senate computers or your files. We did not do that. We were fulfilling our responsibilities.
My concern here is that involving intelligence agencies in domestic politics takes us down a very, very dangerous road.
does the NSA collect any type of data at all on millions or hundreds of millions of Americans?
No, sir.
It does not.
Not wittingly. There are cases where they could inadvertently, perhaps, collect, but not wittingly.
But I would say that Mr. Snowden hasn't lied to anyone. He did break his oath of office, but part of his oath of office is to the Constitution. And he believes that when James Clapper came in March, our National Director of Intelligence came and lied, that he was simply coming forward and telling the truth, that your government was lying. And this is a big concern of mine, because it makes me doubt the administration and their word to us when they come and talk to us, because they have now admitted that they will lie to us if they think it's in the name of national security.
Getting back to this New York Times writer, I want to play a short clip where he claims Trump got the idea from me that there was wiretapping. No, it was in the New York Times. I mean, I've never seen such attempts at just bizarre, you know, the sun is in the sky at noon. I don't know as a CIA guy what you'd call this, but it's just like the worst gaslighting I've ever seen. Let's play this clip.
Has heard. What do you make of the White House citing your article as part of the evidence?
I mean, it's getting bizarre at this point, because we've said it very clearly, and I said on your show, that that's not what the story said. Anybody can read the story and see that's not what it said. And so there's this bizarre circular thing happening where the president cites a theory that he was wiretapped, which developed on the kind of fringe right-wing media.
There it is. There it is, fringe wire. And he wrote an article the day before.
And after his tweet storm, InfoWars then started saying, well, look, it was the New York Times that reported it, citing our story, misreading our story. And now, a few weeks later, the White House and the president are citing InfoWars. So they've got one kind of bizarre right-wing fringe theory to defend another bizarre right-wing fringe theory, both of which there's no evidence to support.
And just to be clear here, there is, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's absolutely nothing whatsoever in your reporting in the New York Times that indicates President Obama wiretapped or ordered wiretapping of then candidate Trump, correct?
Nothing. I mean, if we knew that, that is a fantastic story.
That's a fantastic story. It was all over CNN everywhere. We have the intercepts. We've caught General Flynn. He better resign. We have the transcript. Then they wouldn't release it because there was nothing there. He was lining up a phone call. We're showing you the articles if you're a radio listener. Intercept Russian communications. Part of inquiry into Trump. Matthew Rosenberg and phone calls from Trump Tower being intercepted. Man, that guy. What would you call Mr. Rosenberg politically? I mean, what is he doing there?
A disinformation specialist. Look, he faults Donald Trump for being able to read. I mean, your listeners and those who are watching, if you the headline simply states wiretapped data used in inquiry of Trump aides. It wasn't, Donald Trump didn't write that headline. Alex Jones didn't write that headline. That was written by this guy, and then the guy who writes it has the audacity to claim, well, this is somebody else's fault. I mean, you know, we are living in such a surreal, dangerous time. It's literally the world that, you know, we read about as children in Alice in Wonderland. That was a fictional world. We're now seeing it in real time, where objective facts are suddenly dismissed as being, you know, right-wing conspiracy theories. And it's just, you know, to me, it's alarming because it really threatens the foundation of our republic.
Donald Trump is, in essence, correct that the intelligence agencies and some in the law enforcement community on the side of the FBI were, in fact, illegally trying to access, monitor his communications with his aides and with other people. All of this with an end to trying to destroy and discredit his presidency. I don't think there will be any doubt of that. I think it's worth noting that the head of the National Security Agency, and Admiral Rogers, made a journey to Trump Tower shortly after Trump had won. And in the immediate aftermath of his visit, Jim Clapper and others in the intelligence community called for him to be fired. Now, why did Rogers go to Trump Tower? My understanding is, let's call it was to cover himself, because he was aware that the NSA had been,
all right, let's start fading this down.
Had been misused and abused with respect.
There's about 4 minutes of this boil down of the hour-long interview we had on Friday with a gentleman who was a CIA section chief of intelligence and analysis. So he ran a whole region. And then was the deputy head of counterterrorism in the State Department. That was leading expert on terrorism in the State Department, because it's always the main deputy that actually executes the operations. And he's a famous guy. Just like all the other famous guys, the former head of technical at the NSA, the guy that actually ran it. William Binney, who's on Tuesday. He's had some medical issues and couldn't come on last week when all this info came out about the NSA and the rest of it, but he's joining us tomorrow. Tough guy. He got hit with something and lost both his legs after he whistle blew, and then they SWAT teamed a bunch of other stuff. And that's why I'm not being dramatic here when I tell you we're not playing games. They're going to come out and say this is fake, like they always do. And they're going to come out and, say Lord knows what else. I know for a fact they've got the highest levels of the Democratic Party. Well, I'm not going to say what they're doing at this point. I'm just telling you. There's been certain things I've done over the years that all hell breaks loose. This is one of them. Because the president knows there's a bunch of cowards out there that won't stand up for themselves, stand up for the country, or stand up for him. But there are people that will, and InfoWars is it. And so the president knows he was spied on. He's the president. Plus, it's all public. They spied on the Senate, you name it. Well, now the database with him being spied on before he was president is out when Obama was president. So there you go. Powerful info on InfoWars.com right now. We went ahead and published this early because of obvious security issues. Stay with us. His name's Matt Rosenberg. He was in 4 articles. I keep saying 3. Zach was pointing out during the break, one of our great producers and researchers, that no, it's 4 articles the week of the inauguration, the 18th, the 19th, the 20th, 21st, saying intercepts, wiretaps, communications, Trump Tower, NSA, spying on Trump. And then he goes on CNN Thursday and says, Alex Jones is crazy. He made up that I said wiretaps. They just choose me like they think I've been discredited and then say, Alex said it and Trump picked it up. And then we show, in the piece Friday, I guess Zach found another one, 3 articles where Rosenberg says that they were wiretapping Trump, that Obama was. Now, I want to explain something. I'm going to show you mainstream news articles from Reuters, AP, New York Times, London Guardian to prove this. I mean, I've covered this for decades, so it's old news. But they play this game like, oh, the whole universe starts over every 5 seconds. Like we're all goldfish and have no memory. Remember Gruber, the guy that helped write Obamacare, said, thank God you have no attention spans. Thank God you're so dumb. He has such nerve, he comes out and attacks Trump for scams in the new health care bill when it's not perfect, but it's a lot better than Gruber. So Matthew Rosenberg thinks you're an idiot. Here it is. This is Mark Mazzetti, Carl Hulse, July 31st, 2014. Inquiry by CIA affirms it spied on Senate panels. So, see, they spy illegally domestically. That was all admitted. A constitutional crisis, the CIA turns on the Senate. London Guardian. Exclusive. U.S. directs agents to cover up programs used to investigate Americans. Reuters, using NSA database given to federal and state law enforcement through threat fusion centers. And then what comes out is the Electronic Frontier Foundation, that is a pro-privacy rights, probably the preeminent group, even bigger than the ACLU. They actually do something, defending your rights in the digital world. And by that, they'll defend right-wing, left-wing, they don't care. Secret mass surveillance network to spark global controversy this year. Yet the National Security Agency Dragnet programs continually, unconstitutionally monitoring Americans. So it goes on how it's continuing. Now, the Dragnet's admitted, Dragnet's been in mainstream news. We've covered it. Law enforcement has access to the Dragnet database of who was surveilled. If they can go show an agency, they have pertinent reason, they can be selectively allowed in to the database of the National Security Agency. Not just the DEA, not just the FBI, not just the federal marshals, but local law enforcement. A large portion of it has been basically federally deputized, which is, of course, I've always said a dangerous thing, but then you kind of see how that's exposing it. But this comes from federal sources. In Sheriff Arpaio's cold posse case unit that's broken so much, and Mike Zullo, who's an incredible patriot and has all of his sources. But this is from the database. So the database is admitted. But no one's ever seen the database but law enforcement. So they want to say the president's lying about all this when it's already been in the news in 4 New York Times articles by one guy that goes on the news and says he never said it and we're crazy. And you all heard him a month and a half ago saying, we have the intercepts, they got the wiretaps. Why, we heard Trump and we heard all these people. That was all lies. They were wiretapping, but there was nothing really there. As Nunes said 2 weeks ago, and he finally came out yesterday and said, we've looked at it all. There's not even phone calls till he's president-elect to the Russians. There's nothing. Then they try stuff like, well, one building he built in England had a Russian contractor. So they're desperate, folks. But you remember, but you don't have to remember. We can show you the headlines. So Zach was just saying during the break, it's crazy how dumb they think we are. Remember, Obama administration rushed to preserve intelligence of Russian election hacking and their contacts with Trump. That was just 18 days ago. So you've got the whole deep state and the corrupt bureaucracy that's bipartisan that doesn't want Trump to be right, doesn't want him to reform the system. And isn't it funny that Trump was all Mr. Surveillance as long as it was against Al-Qaeda or something? It's like, no, sir, they'll use it against everybody. Now he gets it. Isn't that incredible? Now he's learning. So the big news here is Infowars.com has screenshots of it with the phone numbers cut off the back and the home addresses cut off the back. You see, we even have a warehouse where we ship products out of and are administrative. And then we have a place where I actually do the show. And they have the location of where I was actually doing the show until just a short time ago in the NSA database. And then this is the place to surveil, and these are the phone numbers to surveil, and this is where Alex Jones is really at. And this is where you actually target. This is where he's using phones, as if I'm running around using, the secretary's phone to make some illegal phone call. And I remember back when I first learned about this 10 years ago that the federal cases came up. So it ended up in newspapers that in intercepts of my phone calls and my emails, people that were being indicted and stuff on separate issues, they were using phone calls and stuff from my show to indict them or arrest them. Just like we learned with Roger Stone's was under, actually got a FISA court on him. Hell, they were all over the news saying he's a Russian agent. Surveil him, target Trump. We need the DOJ to investigate Trump as a Russian spy just 3 months ago in the campaign. Remember that? And then they were. Then they tell you they never were. It shows how dumb they are that they think you're that stupid. That's why Trump's approval ratings go up, theirs go down. But after all these years of surveillance, they don't have anything that I ever did wrong because I'm pretty boring, folks. I never get sick of barbecue and swimming in the swimming pool or going hog hunting like I did with my son and some folks yesterday. I just never get sick of the same old stuff. I'm just a regular guy, other than the fact that I'm not going to be a slave of the New World Order. So coming up, we've got Dr. Corsi on first, who broke this through Sheriff Arpaio and the detectives, outgoing sheriff, now gone sheriff of Maricopa County. We got all this other incredible news. But I know, I see these comments on InfoWars. And I see the reports. And it's just mind-blowing that they think you're so stupid that they can deny they've engaged in all this illegal surveillance. I have several clips I want to play. Before we do that, the crew's pointing this out. InfoWars got knocked off of Google Ads through AdRoll, their subsidiary company they work with. And they said, because you criticize Obama and the Democrats and the UN and climate change, you're not real, we're banning you. They said the president isn't real. They're trying to ban him. They said he's not legitimate. And so they took that ad program, strangely enough, was just about all the extra money we had to budget for expansion in 2017. It was $3.3 million. We've been doing it 3 years. It was very successful. It was to be $5 million or more this year. But that sounds like a lot of money. When you've got 60-something employees and bandwidth and expenses and legal, and let me tell you something, that's not a lot of money. We have a lot of other ways to fund ourselves, but that was just getting us there. And it's funny, what they blew away, all these leftist groups boycotting us and saying go after our sponsors, what they blew away was the extra money. So now we're in a position of not even having the money to go forward, and then they're hitting us with other stuff behind the scenes because they know we're hurting them. They know we're real. They know we'll tell the truth. They know we're fearless. They know we want justice. They know we're not stopping. They know we're Americans, bitter clingers, who want unity and prosperity and freedom in this country. The globalists don't want that. Their own WikiLeaks show that. They want total monopoly of power. That's called dictatorship. So we sell water filters everybody needs because of the toxins, the glyphosates, the garbage in the water. Filter your water, at least for your kids. We have the best shower filters. We have the best bath filters. That's where your kids really absorb it in the skin of their lungs. Get them and support the broadcast. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com. We have so many other great products at InfoWarsLife.com and InfoWarsStore.com. But whatever you do, go there. We have state-of-the-art Defender new body armor that was just adopted by the Defense Department across the board instead of steel plates because it's the best Kevlar new system that's concentrated, super lightweight, amazing. We also have the nanotech systems by another great American-made company. But Defender, same price as Defender sells it. Nobody else gets this deal. InfoWarsStore.com. No reviews yet. We just started selling it Friday, but this is something that everybody needs. And who knows, if they throw Trump out or take over, Kydex holsters are the best NSR tactical systems. We've got it. Everything that's the highest quality that the warfighters use, you name it, and we have the contacts. We give you the best deals. InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. You sign up for auto ship on the stuff like the supplements. You get 10% off additional. Free shipping this weekend on Supermel Vitality and 30% off. 5-star reviews. Todd, in an undisclosed location from Power Review, says, wow, more energy workouts and great, feels stronger, and my girlfriend is enjoying it too. That's the first thing you notice. This is definitely a repurchase. Thank you, Todd, for the purchase and the review. Incredible, says the other reviewers. Yeah, find out. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com. And whatever you do, spread the article, spread the links, spread the videos, because they're trying to block us on Google, not just with being able to sponsor, but being able to share our links. Facebook, Twitter's ratcheting us down. They first strangle you before they shut you down. We're under attack. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say, see, I told you so, that communist Chinese-style net censorship was coming to the web, because it's already here. It's being announced. The way you keep the internet open and free is you get involved more than ever. Go to Infowars.com/app. A new battleship in the fight. Infowars Live, available right now. We're looking for a crew to man it. You gonna sit down and play games and be a trendy? Or are you gonna be part of history? Don't sit by and let the internet and free speech be stolen from you. Take action.